All right, hey, how are you doing? Good to see you. I'm with Jared Mazur today. How are you, Jared?
Good. How about yourself?
I am good. This is the second episode of After the Close. So, my very first question is simply, do you know what that means?
No, and I haven't watched the first one.
Fair enough. Okay. So, the today is Expiration Friday, which means that stock options are done trading for that particular month. And so after the close of business on Expiration Friday, it's very, let's all go out for drinks, that sort of thing. Like, whatever, you hang out, you have fun, you talk. That's sort of like the vibe.
Hmm.
So that's like where that sort of whole thing comes from. So you not actually being in finance and actually not being a dad for that matter, I wasn't sure if you were going to have any idea what the name of the podcast was actually like in reference to.
Yeah, well, I was afraid I didn't have anything meaningful to contribute, but we'll see.
Oh no, I'm sure that mustache of yours will have lots to contribute.
You like it. You're jealous.
I'm not sure I could grow one like that. I'm not gonna lie. I think the last time we saw each other in person, you did have the mustache, but the Super Mario Brothers trailer hadn't come out yet. So now the mustache looks extremely on point.
I mean, I've it's been kind of like my standard look for I don't know 2, 3 years now.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad look. It's a manly look. You just walks a fine line.
It's very divisive. I get a lot of compliments actually. Random guys are like, "Hey man, I love your mustache."
Oh, absolutely. Like your eye, it's like you should pull like a excuse me, my eyes are up here. Like that sort of deal. Because it's definitely
Yeah.
something your
No.
eye will go toward.
Oh yeah. It's a signature look.
All right, that's great. What does your wife think about it?
She loves it.
She does.
She's very supportive of it. I shaved it. I had a bit of like a, I don't know, midlife crisis when I hit 35. So I shaved it and she was very disappointed. My boxing coach said it made me look like I was 7 years old. So
Oh,
then I
geez.
immediately said, that's
Yeah,
enough. I need to regrow it.
I shaved the beard briefly right around the time the number two was born. Um, because like they tell you that like, oh, it'll be, you wanna have soft skin, so you don't want the whiskers to bother them and whatnot. So I did that with my first child also. And I just grew the beard immediately on my honeymoon. That was when I grew the beard. Like I was just we were away for the week and I just let it grow and then I just said to hell with it. So all of the major life milestones in my family, I am totally clean shaven. But any other day of the week, I have a full beard.
Well, it's just easier, right? I mean, do you want to waste all that time, precious time shaving?
You have to maintain, as you well know.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, there is some maintenance that goes into this, but I'm not a everyday shaving cream, lather, razor kind of guy.
I don't think 21st century men really are. I would be hard pressed to find a guy I know who actually like gets his like the shaving cream can from Jurassic Park, like
The
what's it
Barbasol.
Barbasol, thank you.
Yep.
Get that out and do like a whole like single bladed thing, or it's like a straight blade. I don't really I couldn't tell you anyone who does that.
Apparently, there's a whole culture of like guys that are really into like optimizing their shave kit and their razor and that. But yeah, I mean, I guess sure, it's more mainstream to just kind of rock the stubble, which I'm fine with. I keep figuring like, oh, in 5 years, I'm going to be too old. I'm going to have to, go clean shaven or else I look like, crazy or something. But maybe I do look crazy. But I'm pretty happy with the social acceptance of stubble.
Well, it's also you have like the November, what's it, Movember,
Yep.
or like all sorts of people of all ethnicities and socioeconomic groups. Like everybody basically knows that November, it's like, oh, I'm gonna grow my mustache, and you're like not gonna be judged at all because you're just like, yep, this is what I do. And what percentage of those people do you honestly think would be like, I'm just gonna low key like see what people think, and if people think I look like a pedophile, they'd be like, well, I'm just doing it for Movember. But if they find out that people like it, they're like, ah, maybe I'll just keep it. It's like good low
Yeah.
key cover to try a new facial style.
Yeah, normally I don't like the month because I'm like people are crowding into my look, but when you put it like that and it gets more people into being mustache enthusiasts, I'm all right with it.
Aficionados,
Yes. Is there a magazine, Mustache Aficionado?
there should
Do
be.
magazines exist anymore?
Magazines exist. Magazines exist. I don't know what mustache magazines there are. I gotta think there's one. Could be in the gay porn category, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't know. It's a good question. I guess
We'll have
maybe
to look into
it'd
that.
be like GQ magazine has the offshoot. What is it? Esquire.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be like if um like Beard Monthly had like Mustache Quarterly as an offshoot. So we'll see. Maybe it's something like that. So the reason I think mostly that I wanted to have you on is because you are, like we said at the top, you are not a dad and you are not in finance. You're not a trader.
Correct.
Right. So I feel like it's a good opportunity to sort of get like your perception of what it is. So a game that I like to play is like give you a scenario and I'd be curious like what would you do? Like how would you play it out if like so okay, you have for example a kid and he throws up on the table all over at a restaurant. Like as a dad, what do you think the right move would be?
Apologize to the wait staff. Tip generously and just get the fuck out of there.
That's it. That's the beginning, middle, end of your answer.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
fortunately a scenario I really never have to worry about.
Oh well, I worry about it once a month. Uh,
What's the correct way? Enlighten me, please.
well, it's sort of a situation where it's like, first of all, is your wife there?
Ah,
Because that makes a big difference.
because then she's the general, you're just a lieutenant. You just defer
Exactly.
and
I'm just
okay.
follow. It's a very very simple computation. It's just like if she is there, you're just falling in line as a soldier. What do I do now?
Hmm.
Like what are you taking? What am I taking? Like, what business do I have? Am I going to get messy? Am I going to pay money? What is the plan here? That's very often the first order of business. But let's assume that she's not there. It's interesting that at no point did you think to check if the child was okay.
Right, obviously they're not just vomiting for no reason. That yeah, shit. All right.
Like, I think that was the red light that went off in my head there. It's like he doesn't like care if the child is like dying or not. Like if it's like bubbling
Is,
out of the kid's mouth, are you just gonna like give the
is
weight?
their airway clear? Do they need an exorcism? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Right.
At no point did you talk about the child or the welfare of the child. So that's a good barometer of where we are.
God, I'm failing miserably.
Well, that's what every dad thinks. But in this case, I think we can objectively say that it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what you want to do in that situation is A, listen to what your wife says, B, you want to check on the welfare of the child,
Mhm.
and then C, maybe give them a little bit of an extra tip for their trouble.
Okay, but in no universe do you clean it up. You're not getting the mop out. You're not trying to
Oh,
empty
no,
out the little napkin holder.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no. I might do a
nice.
little bit of a cursory kind of like swooshing it into the center,
Okay,
but
well
no, it's their problem because I'm
that's
just
just
gonna
the cost of doing
I'm gonna
business for Sizzler.
football hold the kid and basically say I got to get him out of here. I'm sorry. Here's an extra tip, and I'm basically dumping the problem on that waiter.
Mhm.
That's like kind of what you're doing in that situation. So we'll give you a C minus on that one.
All right.
All right, let's try one more.
I was concerned for the waitstaff's well-being, so that's something.
I guess. All right, let's try one more. We're gonna stick to the dad side of the equation. Now, we'll make the assumption that we only have small kids because everyone has small. Like some people might have a 16-year-old, but some people might only have a 2-year-old. But that means that guy also at one point had a 2-year-old.
Right.
So it's a little bit for a broader audience.
That new information drastically changes the previous scenario because if your 16-year-old's puking all over versus your 2-year-old, it's just yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. You got one on me in that one. My answer would be very different if my 16-year-old decided to start throwing up on everything. Um, but let's try one more. It is now 1 a.m. and your toddler has yet to actually go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
You've been trying to put the toddler to bed since, let's say 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
At what point are you basically going to cry? Like it's 1 a.m. How many more minutes do you have where you basically just say, I'm just gonna start crying?
Well, I suppose that what time did I wake up that previous day?
That's a good point, but I think more of the essence of the question is sort of like, how much patience do you honestly think you'll have in that situation? As like
Oh,
someone
probably
who,
little to none.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
All right, I'm just curious because in general, the amount that your patience will go up is astounding. You know
I
what I'm
believe it.
saying? Like the fact that like once, twice a week, I'm just like preoccupied for 4 hours putting the kids to bed because I don't want to. It's just normal wear and tear of the day.
Sure.
And I no one expected that in life, but that's what ended up happening. So it's very the patience you get is astounding. So it sounds like maybe you're not nobody does though. You know what I'm saying? At first. I'm just saying that you really gotta like be ready for something like that.
I bet.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So well enough of that game. Let's talk a little bit more about you, sir. So how is work going right now? What are you
Pretty
doing?
good.
Tell us about what's
Can't
going on.
complain. What I do, I guess, I'm the director of operations for a contract packaging and filling company. That we work mostly in the cosmetic and personal care space. Think concealers, makeups, body washes, sunscreens, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people may not realize it, but a lot of these bigger brands, it's not this giant vertically integrated company that, does from point A all the way to distribution. There's different steps, in the supply chain. So what a lot of brands do is, contract with companies such as myself. I don't own it, of course, when I work for it, but and we will take raw materials and the packaging products, the bottles, the caps, all that fun stuff, final retail packaging, put it all together, box it up, and ship it either directly to stores or to distribution centers to be further sent down to stores or individual users.
Okay. Okay. So now, and you guys you're very independent. Like you'll take any orders, or you're highly affiliated with like one particular like large company.
No, we'll pretty much take any. We try to avoid conflicts where if we are working with one brand and there's a direct competitor, we'll typically not entertain, doing work for both of them. More just out of a sense of, loyalty, so to speak. But you also don't want one customer to find out, hey, you're working with my competitor right here too. There are certainly trade secrets, they're involved in all this.
So you get into a Coke versus Pepsi vibe.
Essentially, yes.
Do you actually have the bottle or package for Coke or Pepsi?
Not food products like that, no.
Oh no no. Okay, I gotcha. That would have been sweet if you did. So, how long have you been doing this now? You've been there a couple of years.
This particular place, yeah, about 3 years now.
Okay, all right, and you're enjoying it?
I am, yes. We do a 4-day work week, 4 10-hour shifts, which saves on some administrative costs and not running the facility that fifth day of the week. It's really really nice and it's good for the employees. I think I enjoy the 3-day weekends.
Yeah, that's nice. You by default have a 3-day weekend. That's a great way of looking at it. I would and doing 10 hours a day. So what time do you start?
We start production officially 8 a.m. It's 8 to 6. But I get there a little bit earlier with the support staff to make sure everyone's turning the equipment on properly and kind of get ready, geared up for the day. And I'm usually rolling out at about 6:10, 6:15, worst case. But
Do you have like
yeah,
a
they
full
are long
lunch?
days. I'm sorry.
Do you have like a full lunch break?
Oh yeah, hour lunch in the middle of the day.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Yep.
So it's really so you eight to eight. So it's really like 9 hours then. If you actually
Yeah,
take
yeah,
a full
we
hour.
get. Well, I should say, management gets an hour lunch. The actual employees, line employees, get a half hour, but it works out to, with a couple other breaks we give them throughout the day, 9.5 production hours of
Mm,
actual runtime on the equipment.
I gotcha.
Um, and sometimes we can kind of stagger the breaks and cover equipment, to keep the assets running, as long as possible.
That's the way we do it too. We have 24-hour coverage on my team. And this is at a bank. But so it's different. Like it's office work. You're just sitting at a desk, but we have multiple people, and then you stagger the breaks, and then it's always a handover immediately, and there's overlap between shifts. That's sort of like follow the sun model. It's called. It's actually, I don't know if people understand how frequently that's used in much more white collar professions, because it's generally shifts and like hourly wages and such like that. It's generally more of as like a manufacturing or a blue collar area. So like I get exactly what you're saying when you say stuff like that.
That's interesting.
And I guess like in a role like that, are you going to be are you going to be like career man there? Is that something you do? Like you expect like, oh, I'll be there. I'll be like the old pot-bellied man with his mustache, but a little less hair on top when I'm like 56.
Well, I don't intend to have the pot belly, and I really the hair's been holding on pretty well. I hope it keeps up there. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy there. The owner's a great guy. I'd say friend almost. I would say friend. So I'm pretty happy there. It's a short commute, and the owner has a good outlook on things, and I like the direction he's taking the business. So I'm happy to ride it out.
Cool. I know that sounds like a good plan. I'm always very interested in people who are in very different areas than I am. Because I can tell you the career path of like, say, just, oh, this guy works at a bank, or this guy does like, systems management. The things that I know. It sounds silly to say it that way, but it's true. Versus say like when I go out with some guys who are like police officers, like being a police officer is such a different vibe than my office work that I do. So I'm always very interested in understanding like what their like problems are, Like you ever meet like a Port Authority cop and just like hang out and talk with them?
I can't say I have. I have to imagine it's pretty stressful.
But like the things that they're interested in give you like such like better like understanding of like what's going on, because it's just so opposite of what you're doing. You know what I mean?
What sort of things?
So like, well, like to you, so I happen to know like Port Authority cops. So Port Authority, for anyone who doesn't know, is inter the interstate group that handles all the bridges and tunnels between New York State and New Jersey, specifically really New York City and New Jersey, right? So they're on like the Port Authority cops handle like the Holland Tunnel, the Lincoln Tunnel, the subway or the path system between New York and New Jersey, the George W. Bridge across, all the stuff that goes across the Hudson River is really like Port Authority. So those guys are heavily like unionized, and they are government employees, and all of that is, so they very much take an interest in like state and local politics. Much more, they have a much above your average Port Authority cop probably understands state and local politics much better than your average office worker, because it directly ties into like what sort of like what their job is going to be like. Like if another guy, if they talk about changing policies in the news because there was something happening, it very much could be like a thorn in their ass in 3 months from now, because it's essentially saying like management is thinking of making a change. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like they have above average understanding of that sort of stuff. And that's just like the administrative aspect, right? The other thing is that I'm always amazed by is how they're constantly dealing with like what amounts to like the bottom 10% of society.
It's true, right? They deal with a lot of people. Not to say everyone who rides public transit is a miscreant of some sort, but yeah,
no, but like the top 90% of people are not going to have to deal with police.
Mm-hmm.
Like every average Joe doesn't have to have like an interaction with a police officer. You get like people asking for directions, tourists, right? But then by and large, you get troublemakers. Like by definition,
fare jumpers, trying to kick bums off rail cars.
Right. So like they are constantly dealing with like a different caliber of person than I deal with in my day to day. I see my wife, I see my kids, I see the kids' teacher, and I see like equally educated people whom I work with in a very similar profession. Like I have a very monotonous and like very like narrow day-to-day interaction with people. And these people, and like the cops like that, they're going to see an entirely different group of people. They are a different group of people, and they see yet another different group of people. So to have a conversation with one is like the point of view that you get is amazing. Like I love talking with those guys just to get a sense of what's like going on.
That's interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we're sitting here talking about me as an office worker, you as a factory manager, and then we're like having wonderings about like what Port Authority cops are thinking. But how often do three of those people get in a room together?
Probably pretty rarely.
Right. I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So when we talk about like stuff like that, I'm also then like thinking, like, what do you think about something like that? Like, as the factory manager's perspective, like, are you because like my day is often like at my job, I have downtime. Like I'll have podcasts in my ears. I'll be reading articles and stuff. Like I have like the ability to like look at other stuff. Do you? Like in the course of your day, like how much time do you get to like just say like read your phone?
It certainly varies on the day. I mean, if we have, more lines running, I certainly have less downtime because I like to typically, do just a physical lap of the building. We have security cameras I can kind of scan, but better to be an actual presence on the lines, so to
Hmm.
speak. But I mean, realistically, a fair amount, probably more than you'd think.
Yeah.
There's lots of spurts where I'll have to kind of direct people for a little bit, and then I can have an hour where I have to just kind of take care of compliance paperwork or just again screw around on my phone.
Right. Right. I gotcha. I gotcha. Because like I said, like the third category, like the cops, like 5-10 minutes a day. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
This,
bet.
yeah. No, so, but it kind of like loops back around. Like it's interesting how what an above average knowledge they have of like state and local politics, given the such a below average amount of like time they probably have to absorb it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I always found that very interesting when talking to those guys.
Well, they always go to the union meeting. That union rep is telling them what to think and how to vote.
I mean, they very well could be, but you know what? That's more civic engagement than a lot of other people have.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I mean, have you ever gone? I mean, I know you're sort of a new. I'm not going to dox you. I know you're a new resident to your state. Have you gone to like a local, like town council meeting?
I have not gone to something like that yet. However, I am starting to get involved with Board of Education
Okay, yeah, that's important. You have a stake in that, so I can understand
because,
that.
like,
Have you gone?
my
Have you gone to any sort of meetings though, or I'm assuming maybe the remote. Have you watched them?
I've done a couple different things. So, like, first of all, I've learned like the districts and the jurisdictions and things like that, just like in my own learnings. Because like I like my oldest is now in the school district. Like we
Mhm.
are members of, I got a kindergartner now in the school district. So we are now like in it, you know? It's like we're not going to be a part of this organization, so I made an effort to like kind of learn the organization, to learn what was in it and what was not in it. Um and so then the second thing that I actually did was really start to, when the past election season came up, I really made a point of reading all the referendums and understanding what was happening. So, for example, and this one was particularly interesting to me because it was a bond issuance. The municipal board of education wanted to issue bonds that they would pay through tax dollars, or pay the payments on these bonds with tax dollars, and the money that they received from the bonds was going to go to improving parts of the school. And so like that struck a chord with me because all of a sudden now it's my taxpayer money. Is going to my kid's school. And also municipal bond issuance is something that I have good knowledge of because I actually supported the softwares on a municipal bond trading desk for a period of time. So I understand full well. It really all loops back into like work and like whatnot. Like I was on a municipal bond trading desk briefly, supporting the software there. So I do know the basics of what happens with these bonds. So that was the second area where I got very interested. I started looking into just how the municipal issuances happen and what goes on there. Like, where is this money going to? What is it going to? Where did it come from, etc. So I really came at it from like my own way.
Were you pro bond? Yes, yes to the bond.
I voted for the bond. Yes, I voted for the
Did
bond.
it pass?
Yes, I believe it did.
All right,
So
good.
there's gonna be a bond issuance. So like it's like it's very like thread the needle. Like in theory, in very like theoretical terms, I may actually know the guy who will trade those bonds that I voted for.
Well, that's just fun.
Like it's just a weird little thing that like you can actually thread the needle and connect those dots. That like I voted for this bond. They're going to go to an investment bank and say, we want to, make some bonds and sell them to collect money. And so then they will do that process of underwriting. Then the bonds will be listed for traders at like at a dealing desk to like trade with. And so then the softwares that show all that stuff may have been what I was actually doing at my old job. So it could very well have been on like the screen, like if I were still at that particular
That's
place.
very Schoolhouse Rock.
It is. Oh, that's such a great way to put it. It's very Schoolhouse Rock. Yes.
Just watching that bond walk up those steps.
I'm just a bond. Yes, I'm only a bond. Like, but I'm sitting here on Wall Street. Yeah, we'll work on that one. But that's true.
There's something there.
Um, so that was the second way, though, I got kind of interested in what's going on around here. And then the third way is that I have become a volunteer. I actually go to my daughter's school and help with like once a week with some of like the tutoring stuff. So now I've gotten to know like the administrators in my kid's school, and I've gotten to know like her teacher, and I've gotten to just kind of know like what's going on, and I get like an earful of the curriculum and whatnot. And what I figured out is twofold. One, it's very useful to know what's going on. It's very important to know what's going on, like at your kid's school. But two, I very much respect them as like they're at their job. You know what I mean? So like when I'm there, I'm not looking to cause trouble. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm very like respectful. Even if I've never seen anything, I've been very happy with it overall, to be honest. Like I'm very like I think they're doing an excellent job. But I am not there to like ask them questions or distract them or be like a nuisance, because like I understand that they're at their job. It's like if somebody came to my job and started asking me random questions about what I do, it's like I'd be like, dude, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So I've been very like fly on the wall with it, but I do have a very good sense. So I have a very good head on my shoulders when I make commentary on it. You know what I mean?
Sure. But overall, you're happy. They're not banning books or anything.
Not to my knowledge. No, they are not banning or burning books of any sort. In fact, that's what I do. I sit there and read with them.
We're talking kindergarten age, so Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've maybe, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. I'm your guy.
Classic.
Oh, so you know who I have with me here?
Who's that?
Trader Dog Gus. Gus, my dog.
I know who Gus is. I've met Gus several times.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, fine. Yeah, he's looking to get let out. So let me just do that real quick, and
Is
then I'll be all set here. Right. Here we go. Go, bud. Go. Okay. So now, while I have you, how is the house improvements going?
very good. I'm nearly done. I just have one room. Just I guess to enlighten everyone that I foolishly a few years ago bought a 100-some-odd-year-old house and decided to gut it and renovate it. That'd be a fun little weekend project, right? Knock
Sure.
that out in a year. So anyway, 6 years later, I have one more room to go, the office. So I was doing a little electrical work today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I really thought you were going to tell me you're doing plumbing and you fell into a Mushroom Kingdom world and fought a giant lizard with a shell.
No,
Oh.
unfortunately not. I get the reference. Good. No, I did fall through the ceiling one time. I was in the second floor
Mhm.
while there was no flooring, and I was walking on the beams. And of course, you say just don't be an idiot and don't step on the middle, and you'll be fine. And I kind of just had a missed foot and punched right through. Fortunately, I was redoing the downstairs room too, so it wasn't the end of the world. But I had a pretty big bruise on the chest from that one.
Ouch. Yeah, those definitely. I've never done that personally, but I imagine that helped. What did your wife say? Was she like which was she mostly concerned about tipping the waiter, or was she concerned about your well-being?
She actually wasn't home at the time, so I remember
Oh,
sending her a picture of like the giant red, welt on the stomach and chest. Uh,
and then that's good though. You build up with the sympathy card first. Because wouldn't
oh
your next
yeah.
question be like, how did you do that?
No, I mean she knows. I seem to, overall I'm a very blessed, lucky individual, I guess. But I seem to have, I recently dislocated my shoulder mountain biking, so
Oh wow,
she
I didn't
she's
know
no
that.
stranger to the ER pickup.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. So you I didn't realize you were mountain biking. That kind of caught me. That was a curveball there. Let's go back to that. You
Yeah, I mean, I'm a general type 2 fun enthusiast. So, things that you don't necessarily like doing like in the moment, but when you're done, you're like, yeah, that was a good time. Running marathons, road cycling, mountain biking, skiing, cross country skiing, that sort of thing.
That's a great way to phrase
Um,
it. Like you said, I not fun in the moment type of guy or type of stuff. That's a great
yeah,
way to
I
phrase
didn't
it.
coin that phrase. That type 2 fun's a thing. But
Type
yeah,
two
again, it's
fun.
like type 2 fun. Type 1 fun would be, like, throwing a football around or, whatever, doing an enjoyable activity. Type 2 fun, you don't like it in the moment, but at the end, the sense of accomplishment, you say, that was a cool time.
Interesting. Is that like a book? Is there like an author who like is famous for that or anything like that?
No, no, just kind of turn the entered lexicon.
Really? I've never heard it before. Hmm.
You know.
It makes sense though. I mean, like I understand the idea behind it. I've never heard the terms, but what you're saying, it's like you hate reading, but you love having read.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's type two fun, reading.
Some maybe. I mean, some
This,
might
yeah, I
people
guess so. I don't
people
know.
who really enjoy it. Maybe it's not. I guess teach
Yeah,
their
that's
own.
true. That's true. So, like, when you do mountain biking, are you mostly interested in like what? I guess my question is like, is it the fun of it, type one or two, or is it the health benefits? Is it all of it? Is it the solitude? Are you doing it with a group of people? Like what? Like when you're doing something like that? Because I don't mountain bike, not even close. I have no idea
Yeah.
how
So
it
I mean,
works.
to start, there's a couple different types, disciplines of mountain biking. So, you have like cross country, which is more, constant, keeping on the pedals, pedaling the whole time, more cardiovascular exercise. And you have
Mhm.
like the more extreme, like, Red Bull sponsored downhill type where they're going up the mountain assisted by a ski lift or, a truck or something. And then they just let gravity, take them down. I don't really do that. I've done it once or twice. It's a little too risky for my taste. Even
Mhm.
the more tame type that I tend to stick to, obviously, I came off and popped the shoulder out.
Right.
But mountain biking, up cycling as a whole, I would say overall type 2 fun, not really that enjoyable to do in the moment or the way I do it anyway. For training. I do compete in amateur races, so that kind of motivates me, or kind of frames all of the riding is to try to be more productive in training to get the best out of myself.
Interesting.
But
Interesting.
mountain biking is usually looked at as a bit more of an escape, and oh, we're going to go knock around on Saturday morning and have some fun.
I gotcha. I gotcha. That's interesting. I mean, I know that you were always sort of like a cardiovascular type, like the biking, running,
Endurance athlete.
endurance athlete. You're not really a swimmer though, are you?
I'm not. No, I had said I was interested in training for a triathlon, and now with the shoulder injury, I might actually get in the pool because it's good rehab.
Yeah, that's smart. Maybe that could be a good like dovetail, like lemonade from lemons type of deal. You could really like
Yes,
you don't have like a pool or anything there. You'd have to join like a club.
my current gym slash health club does have a lap pool, so I'm all
Oh,
set.
okay. So you'd be all set then. Yeah, that makes sense. When we when we moved to our current house, we do not have a pool. Like, and nor do we have like the real estate for one. Like, it was like when we bought this place, we knew like we have very small plot of land, no pool, very little limited yard. That's just not what we're gonna have in life. But we do have a clubhouse, which is like, you know, down the block and like down the street, which we can walk to, and that has like a big Olympic sized pool and like a whole like gym area and stuff. And so like the onus is on us to really start like utilizing that, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because you could just as easily like be paying those dues for it and never actually go to it. So like
Yep.
you basically have a free pool built into your situation as well. It's like the same idea. You're paying dues, but you're not using the pool.
Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Are you at that gym for just general exercise, or just specific stuff? Are you like there playing tennis every weekend, or are you there like doing just
I'm
general
there
weight
just
training?
strictly for the weights. It's like a full on health club. They offer classes, Pilates, yoga, all that good stuff. I just use it for the free weights and a couple machines.
With that mustache, have you ever been hit on at the gym?
In the locker room, I had one very enthusiastic muscular man say "sick mustache," like really excitedly. That's probably the closest I've ever come to being hit on because of the mustache.
All right. Well, you know, I guess there's still time.
It was appreciated though.
Oh, I'm sure. Everybody likes to
Compliments
get
always
compliment.
are. Yeah,
Everybody likes to get compliment.
of course.
So you, all right. So you're at the gym. So I'm trying to like, I'm slowly prodding at you here, and I'm getting a sense of like what your day is. So you wake up and you go to you're the factory manager. You're in about 10 hours. You got your hour lunch break, and then you go to the gym after work.
No, I go to the gym before. I usually get to the gym around 5:30, 5:45. It's just right down the block from the factory, from work. So, just gym it up for an hour, shower, get there rolling around 7:30ish and you know, grab a coffee and get to work.
That's a good yeah, okay. That's a good routine. I've tried for years to try to get like the physical exercise in like early in the day.
Mhm.
But I found now that I'm like older, even when like even back in like high school, I was always better as an evening runner, as an evening like exercise person. I just cannot get up early in the day and just start exercising. It just doesn't work for me.
For I would agree with cardio. Anytime I'm doing bike rides, any sort of, trainer workouts, I do them at night at home. So it's resistance
Mm,
training, weights in the morning and cardio at night.
right. I really, the problem then is like finding the time at night, you know, because you like by the time it's like you really want to, there's like a sweet spot which I have trouble reaching as like someone who has like, you know, general responsibilities. Like if I could do it at like 6 p.m. every day, that'd be great. Like I still have enough energy, but I'm warmed up and I'm like kind of like I want to like burn off some of like the just like the frustrations of the day. Like that would be like the best time. But really my the time I have is like at 10 p.m. And at that
Yeah, it's
point
just
it's
too
like
late.
fuck, I don't want to do this.
No, and then you feel like really like wired afterwards sometimes. You're just not
Yeah,
ready to
that's the other
sleep.
thing. That's definitely a big piece of it. What I have been able to do is I've got like the I got like a whole like heavy bag set up in the garage now. I don't know if I told you
Okay.
this. Like
You
I
did
got
not.
I bought gloves, I bought wraps, and I have a heavy bag now hanging in my garage. And so now I can go out and I can get like a nice workout in that way, just like hitting the bag, just like going, you know, like getting a few like even like 10, 15 minutes in at night. I found like that'll do it. Like I can get
It
that in late at night.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean I started boxing, somewhat seriously about 18 months ago, and I was so blown away by the physicality of it. I thought, oh, I have a good, endurance engine, so it shouldn't be a problem. But even like, the first time I did an actual official sparring, 3-minute round, I was so gassed by the end of it. It's really, really a great workout.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like, so I did it for a couple solid months when I was in grad school and then like stopped just because I graduated. I moved on to like the next thing in life. But I always remember thinking like that was like arguably the best like kind of shape I ever got into when I was like boxing shape. It
Yep.
just like worked for me. You know what I mean? Like jumping rope. like all the boxing centric like activities you think of, just like have really worked for me personally. Like I'll get like 10 solid minutes in on jump rope, and I'll do like a couple rounds just with the heavy bag, and then it'll be just, then I feel like I'm warmed up, I'm loose, and I'm stretching. Like it's just like it just gets, it's like a ratcheting effect where like those are the types of things that I can actually like dive into, and by the time I'm done with those, I'll work out for another hour if I want to, or if I could, you know what I mean? Like I'm like ready to go then. uh it Are you, when you're going, are you doing it more like for the mental health or the physical health, or is it both?
Certainly not mental health. Getting punched in the head repeatedly is definitely not good for the brain.
Okay,
Um,
but what about punching something?
I don't do it to like work out stress. I honestly, I do it just for I'm a competitive person. I like the competitive nature of it. I'm training with the goal of, actually, competing in an amateur masters tournament. Now that I hit 35, you're eligible to compete in those.
Really?
Um,
Why
so
didn't, is that a state thing or a federal thing?
every state has their own, boxing organization, all under the umbrella of USA Boxing.
Hmm.
And they have different bracketed categories and age groups and whatnot. But if you're a normal man, under the age of 35, there's just an open category, and then of course over that they have age bracket categories, and I mean it's definitely not a given, but it's generally a little hopefully tamer in the older categories. It's amateur bike racing actually has the same masters categories, and it's the exact same thing. The masters races are everyone says always a little bit more smooth and safer, less chance of crashes, less young bucks hot dogging it up, making risky moves and whatnot. And from personal experience, I sparred a young buck one time in his 20s and ended up with a concussion and a possible herniated disc in the neck. So
Ooh.
I definitely want to stick to fighting guys my own age or older.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like anyone who thinks that at in their late 30s or mid 30s, having just kind of done it casually, they can compete with somebody like in their 20s who's like serious about it. Absolutely not. Absolutely. Like
Yep,
there's no even, there's not even close how like different the levels are.
yep.
It's
I
like
mean, I've sparred, guys about my level older than me, and it went very well for me. So it was, I was riding high and pretty confident, and the kid was, basically just like a warm up spar, before a fight he was going to have in a couple of days. That I just, you know, got my block knocked off. I got rocked. He was just so quick. He could just get under me and uppercut, and that went on for about 2.5 rounds until it kind of just ended.
it's a yeah. Very quickly you go through a fight like that once, and then you basically have like a decision to make. It's like, am I done with this forever, or do I just accept this as something that will happen every once in a while?
Yep, it was very humbling, and my wife certainly wants me to quit.
Oh, she
Of course, she's
does.
worried about long term brain health, rightfully so.
Hmm.
But I definitely it made me go back to the drawing board and kind of say I need to work on some fundamentals a little more, worry about defense a lot more. Because I'm you can't see on the screen, but 6'4", I have a very generous reach, so I was able to rely on that pretty heavily. But when you're fighting someone quick with a bit more skill, that doesn't work so well.
Yeah, it's like they know how to like count. It's like a 1-2. Like you throw out like a very long jab,
Correct.
but as soon as someone learns how to like parry that long jab, you got nothing.
Right,
You don't
right.
have a two.
Yep, that's what I was saying. He was able to get under. So he was slipping, getting underneath
Yeah.
and then coming with an uppercut. And just,
Right.
I had no counter to that because all I know was jab and move, jab and move.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But
Exactly. So like, I have not actually done a lot of like sparring for boxing. I really just like I'm like stealing the exercises from it because I find them to be very like effective for my like physical like style and like well being and all that stuff. But when it comes to actually uh having an opponent, um that idea of having like your move but you got to have something like a 2 to back it up. I do that a lot when I'm playing table tennis or like, when I'm playing ping pong with people. Like if you can have a really good serve, you could like, you might like, be able to score like 4 or 5 points in a row off somebody. But as soon as they figure out how to return the serve, if you don't have another shot ready, you're done. Because now you're never going to score again. He's going to return it every time. So like that's kind of like what I'm hearing when you're talking about like the long jab. Like that's your one move. Your serve is your long jab, but then if they return it, you're done.
Yep, pretty much. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also the benefit of being a southpaw, being left-handed. So, that
Oh,
does
that's
give
nice.
me some other advantages, as well. Like I could do a lead hook, with my right arm instead of a jab. So I do have a couple other tricks up my sleeve. But, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's basically a chess match, but the other guy is punching you in the face, instead of moving around on the board.
I really like though the chess match analogy because I think a lot of people who've never really been involved with like some sort of physical like type of fight. I don't want to say physical type of fighting, but you know what I mean, like a boxing or wrestling,
The combat
some
sport.
sort of martial arts.
Mhm.
It is really like a chess game. Like
Yep. I myself thought it was just two guys kind of flailing around in the ring, but again, it's about opening up angles,
mhm.
setting it up. I'm doing this one shot, and then I'm going to pivot, so then I could come back with a left cross. So absolutely,
So like with like boxing and martial arts specifically, I think I've only actually been like a sparring match like twice in my life, and that was probably the last one was probably like 10 years ago. So I don't have like a tremendous amount of firsthand, but what I'm trying to do is like funnel the idea through like what I play ping pong all the time, which is just not getting hit in the head. But the other components are the same. You have one opponent and you're trying to like do placement and things like that and figure out how to like you could do backspin or forehand, backhand, all these different like tactics that create different like speed and spin on the ball for the opponent. Then the problem arises when that opponent like can counter your one move or is just like thinking like, okay, I'm gonna shoot it to like, like with boxing or ping pong, you're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna do like a 1, 2, 3, and then come in with like the hook, or you might do like a pop pop, but you use all these different combinations you can throw. It's the same thing in like a lot of other sports. So I'm trying to like funnel the ideas through it, and I'm like seeing it very clearly.
for sure.
So, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's exactly what it is. But I mean, of course, there's a classic Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. There have been, so many times where, kind of like, we're about to get into it, and I have this plan in my mind, and everything's gonna go great, and then literally that instead of me throwing that first jab, it's a 1-2 right to my face, and then all right, we need to now come up with what's that other plan in the moment, and okay, no, now they're kind of backing me into a corner. What do I have to do here? Now I don't have to worry about throwing punches. I got to worry about moving and getting us centered again or getting turned around so he's against the ropes. So
Right.
absolutely, really just trying to stay 2 steps ahead of them.
Hmm. And like the other piece of it is you're not only worried about like your hands, it's footwork involved.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Footwork is almost more important than the actual hands.
Right. Because like it's one thing if you're able to like, throw a good punch like at a bag. Like I can like line up and like really like rock the bag pretty well because I know it's not gonna hit me back, but B, it's in the same damn spot every time. But as soon as you're with another person who can like, sidestep and do all that stuff, it like I feel like I'm more likely to like fall over than get hit with a punch sometimes. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is actually how you throw the punch. You don't want to follow through all the way. It wants to be a snap. Once it hits its intended destination, you're basically pulling back, and then that's kind of pivoting your body to be able to follow up with another punch.
Yeah, the balance
But
is really like a big piece of it within the footwork for
that
sure. Yeah,
without a doubt, and also your foot placement really could control the other fighter as well. So how you move, or if you keep your lead foot on their outside, you're able to kind of move them a little bit, without
right.
actually physically touching them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. How it's like it gets into sort of like how, how transferable are a lot of sports? They call somebody's athletic, right? When they say somebody's
Hmm.
athletic, it's like, oh, can they just like immediately have a natural knack for both boxing and ping pong and football and baseball and basketball and whatever, you know what I mean? Or it's like how
It's it's interesting
like
you say that because to me boxing was always more akin to like a ball sport. There's something, as you were saying, about ping pong, you're responding to an opponent and there's a little bit of coordination. And me coming from the endurance world, like, yeah, I guess there is a degree of coordination with your core and your arms in maneuvering a bike, especially a mountain bike. But running, especially long distance marathon stuff, you're on autopilot. You're just kind of churning it out, getting the miles down until you're
mhm.
done. So I was actually really afraid of that. The thing that I think actually translated the best was skiing. A lot of as I was just alluding to before, about transferring your weight from one side to the other to set up punches. A lot of skiing, turning is basically that same thing. Is just basically lifting the inside leg to initiate a turn.
Yeah,
So that
right, right.
translated a lot. And even early on, my coach actually said, I could tell you were an athlete because you're very aware of your movements. And I was like, that's funny to hear because, again, I never consider myself an athlete. I'm just a guy who could flog himself for a couple hours, on a bike or running. But
Right. Right, right, right. I mean, like you mentioned it before, like you're 6'4", and I've, in person, I've seen you. You have the stride of a gazelle.
yes,
It was
yes,
always like such an inherent advantage over anyone. That's why, like, you don't see like professional basketball players who are 5'7". Like, it's just not. It's just that inherently that
there's just an efficiency
height is
to it.
such an advantage in so many. It's in athletics, a height is an advantage so much more frequently than it is a disadvantage. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, for sure.
like you have an edge over me, who's like I'm barely 5'10" in basketball, in just running, in like biking, like anything that has like that sort of like jog to it, that sort of like cadence. Like you have me beat because you can cover more distance. Like you can reach higher, you can step further by default. So that really like gives you an edge for sure.
Oh, definitely benefit.
Like where would you say you are the most disadvantageous? Like, what would you say you're the worst at, if you don't mind me asking?
Like what sport? What I would be, or
Yeah, like as someone like of your
this?
size, like what have you had the most trouble with? Like, is hockey hard? Would hockey be hard because you're just like the length of the stick is just not like
There's some pretty big
golf?
hockey
Like,
players.
what do you do
They
in
make a
golf?
longer stick. I don't know, crew probably just because of the. I mean, again, I'm very lean, but weight in general. I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be a good rower.
No, I guess not. But maybe you would be because you could like do it in a way that your arms are longer and you get like an extra.
That's true.
I don't
Yeah,
know. It's an interesting thought. I'm just like you would know firsthand. Like I have the everyman.
jockey. I could never be a jockey, an equestrian rider.
There's one. That's one. One for
Yeah.
the one for the little guy. Um, because like I've always had like an everyman problem. Like I'm about average height, about average weight, about average size. So I can like hang in there in most things, but I'm never gonna be like excellent at any of them. You know what I mean? Like because I don't
Yeah,
have
well, at
like
that point, it comes down to skill, right? But there's just an inherent physical advantage that, being longer, taller just gives you for sure.
right. Like I'm not gonna be like a big like lineman. Like, I'm just not that like big and stocky. It's just not gonna happen. Like I can be like okay in some spots, but I was like never gonna have like such an edge with physicality that was gonna give me this like push to like the next level. You know what I mean? That I didn't give a shit. That was the other thing. But
Yeah.
we'll stick with the physicality limitations for now because then it's not my fault. Um, I'm just trying to think like what else would you be like volleyball you'd kick ass at? Like did you like go if you go through high school sports, what were you like good at or gym class? Like what would you have been really good at versus really bad at? I only took
Well, if
six
you remember,
months
I
of
didn't really
gym.
spring up till the end of high school. So I hadn't really grown, into my height, so to speak. I could certainly run with the stride, but I was a bit uncoordinated. But I was decent in gym class volleyball for sure. I could hold my own. Um,
I only had about 6 months of gym in 4 years of high school because I was like I had a broken arm and then like I was in like I got exempt because I was in like other classes that would exempt you for gym for. Um, so I did like 6 months of gym in 4 years of high school, so I barely remember it. Like, what did you even do? I don't know.
we definitely did a lot of volleyball. Pickleball was a big one, and that got pretty competitive. That's like
Pickleback.
a thing now. There's pickleball leagues. Have you seen
Do
this? They're all over.
the PPA, the Pickleball like Players Association and stuff, and it's like
Has that always existed? Or did a bunch of like retired gym teachers get together and say we're gonna like start a racket or something?
I don't really know. I don't know what to think about it other than it offends my sensibilities. Like,
I mean,
I don't know how
like
to
taking it
phrase it any other way,
seriously.
but the idea of pickleball just offends my sensibilities. It's like you should either be
Like,
playing like table tennis or play real tennis. Like I don't need a grown man in his running shorts and his like sweatband popping a ball like over like 4 feet
you
over a net. I just don't like it.
you don't like big versions of small sports. So if there
Yes,
was
or
like a
small
life
versions
size,
of big sports. It's like you're not like making it the best of both worlds. It's just stupid.
okay, so it's not the fact that they're trying to take themselves seriously. It's just the sport existing at all bothers you.
Both? I like
All right, fair enough.
it's like in Mean Girls when they're yelling at the girls, like stop trying to make pick fetch a thing. It's like stop trying to make pickleball a thing. Pickleball's never going to
Sure.
be a thing. You're not going to like you're not taking over Sundays from the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
I,
Like it's just
I
not
don't know
going
if
to
I'm going for
happen.
like like a spectator sport. I think it's more about an accessible sport that a lot of people could participate in.
Well, who wants to participate in it?
Retirees, like I said, retired gym teachers is probably the number one
I guess.
contributor to this growing sport.
I guess. I don't. I just don't. I just think it's stupid. I went and watched them in person. Like I'm not just like, oh, I heard about it or read about it. So like
You
I've gone
did
and I've
a
seen
tournament.
pickleball tournaments. I sat and watched them doing it, and I came out of it saying like, you know what they did? They just drew lines on a tennis court and brought it all in, and then they put folding chairs around the back half of the tennis court so that it just looked like it was like the correct size. Like this is how it always is. But in reality, they just like took over a tennis court and they played, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? There's like guys who are like they're wearing like they're indoors in an air conditioned place, but they're wearing like all the air, the sweat wicking like crap. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Technical
just like,
fabrics, sure, okay.
yeah, it's like get over
Taking it way too
yourself.
seriously.
Get over yourself. But I mean, you can find a real sport. Like I'm very pro table tennis. I am. I have my own paddle for that, but it's like it's a gentleman's game. It's a parlor game. It's like next to your dartboard or like a pool table. Like it is. Nobody is sitting around saying that you're gonna like that you can avoid obesity playing table tennis. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I mean, isn't it an Olympic sport? There are Olympic, like with the sweatbands and the whole technical fabric gear set up, whacking those paddles, no?
They're wearing like uniforms, sure, right? But like they're just wearing like gym clothes essentially. I mean, am I
Okay.
right or wrong? You look like you disagree with me.
No, I don't. I actually don't know. I can't say I've ever actually watched it. I'm just aware it's an Olympic sport. I assume they would be, wearing the most efficient clothing possible.
Well, of course they are. They're like the best in the world. But like, what I mean, if you want to take it to the extremes, you could say, sure, like the people who are in even pickleball or something, they're going to try to be as optimized as possible. What I'm suggesting is that tennis is an extremely it's a legitimate outdoor sport that requires skill and athleticism, and it can be done for multiple reasons. On the other hand, you have table tennis, which is a parlor game. It's like on par with like billiards or like darts. Like that's much more where table tennis lies in my mind because you can have it in like your freaking office. Like nobody's gonna say like, hey, let's set up the pickleball court in like the conference room so we can like you know what I'm saying? Like,
It'd be a big conference room, sure.
sure, but nobody's like, oh, let's play pickleball in the conference room after work today. But lots of places have like a ping pong table because a ping pong table is something that you can do as like an indoor activity. Pickleball is neither. It's not that it's both; it's neither. And I
How do
don't.
you
I
feel
just
about
it just doesn't.
foosball?
What?
How do you feel about foosball?
I like foosball. Foosball's in the same vein as like I think of foosball with like
You
pinball
don't think
machines.
it's trying to be soccer, indoor, tiny
No,
miniature
it's like
soccer?
knock hockey or something. It's like an indoor parlor game. Like foosball is closer to table tennis than pickleball is to table tennis in my mind.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps or hurts, but it's true.
Seems like arena or playing surface size factors a lot into this.
Yes, yes, I would say so. It's a real question of whether you could be like a weekend warrior in like your backyard.
Mhm.
That's really like I think that's a good like barometer of that sort of thing.
I'm just going to cite one more sport, ask your opinion, and then we'll move on. Badminton.
Badminton,
Because it's kind of a hybrid of a lot we'll be talking about. It's physical. You're moving for that shuttlecock.
shuttlecock. What do I think about badminton? I am fine with badminton, but there's not like a badminton association trying to like come in and think they're what they're not, right?
There probably is.
Have you heard of it?
Like
Because
the governing body
you've
for
heard of the
badminton.
pickleball association,
Well, they're more present. They have a facility in town.
but the
They
badminton
have a
people
rented.
don't.
Well, no, they don't.
Big pickleballs coming in on your small town, but the nice badminton people seem to, leave you alone.
Well, badminton's a legacy Olympic sport. Pickleball's the new guy in town, so it makes sense they're marketing it heavily.
I guess. But to your first point, I think of badminton as like horseshoes, like an outdoor parlor game,
Like a lawn game, a
lawn
leisure
game.
lawn game.
Like if I classified parlor games as
Lawn
indoor,
darts and
they're like outdoor
horseshoes
parlor
and
games.
bocce. Yeah, sure.
Yes, bocce
Okay.
ball is a great example. Yes,
Yeah.
like all that stuff. It's basically just outdoor parlor games.
And that's okay in your mind, but if you take it too seriously, then
Yeah.
it becomes uncool.
I got into this is like well-founded like debate because I got into a legitimate collegiate situation when you're trying to define the difference between a game and a sport. So this is 100% true. When I was a freshman in college and you entered the business school, you have to do a business plan throughout the semester and you make a team. And then what they do is they take Nike Corporation as like the uh, company that you study through the course of the semester, and then you apply the lessons from each angle of Nike Corporation when you're building your own business plan. So, for example, they do like 2 weeks on marketing, and then they talk about all the ways Nike markets, and then you have to learn about marketing through that, and then you say, what's your marketing plan going to be, right? And then you think of like the big hitch is that you have to build a business plan for a product that's like sports related. That's like the rule because you're studying Nike all semester, and they divide up the whole freshman class into teams. So there's about like maybe 200 250 kids who are all like freshmen in college doing this, split up into about say 40 teams. So in the team, you pick your CEO, you pick your guys, and then you go and you have to you have to pitch an idea, and then you have to build a business plan for it. And then you have to pitch the whole thing to alumni who come back for investor day to actually decide whether it's a good idea. Did you market it well? Are they going to give you money? It was all like more of a scoring system rather than actual funding, but it was the whole thing was a competition because then all of that scoring went to Eccentric Consulting and they would judge it, and then they would relay the winner, and it was annual, like every year, who's going to win the business plan competition in the freshman class. It was like a thing that was known, and like the seniors would be like, oh, that guy won my year, or I was on the winning team. Like they remember, it was like a thing. So anyway, we had to build this whole product for this whole big competition in the thing that goes on. You end up with a situation where you get a lot of people with like derivative ideas. So you have people who say like, oh, we're going to have wireless earbuds that work good instead of like the crappy ones. This is like 15, 20 years ago, I took this class. Except like the crappy ones that exist now. And there'd be like two teams that are doing that, it'd be like junk. So we came up with the idea of having a poker system. So the idea was that you'd buy poker chips that were weighted differently, with each weight representing a value. And so then you'd be able to throw it into a scale essentially, and it would automatically weigh it, and then it would output the amount in which you actually had in the pot, right? So you didn't have to sit there and count all the chips and stuff whenever somebody asked how much is in there. It would tell you immediately. So that was like the gimmick, and it was supposed to be sold in like Sports Authority or like Dick's or Modell's or something, because that was very popular at the time. That was our idea, and cut through the whole semester. Long story short, our team won the whole competition. Like we won the thing. When it was, we ended up having the best idea, and so for a while, everybody was ticked at us because remember it was like a thing, like oh we were the winning team, like people in the business school knew. Because their basic argument was like poker is not a sport. They should have been disqualified. It shouldn't have counted. They shouldn't have been allowed to like. They should have had to like pick a different idea. It was like this whole big thing that they were ticked off about that we won because the idea was supposed to be sports related, and we did poker, which was like considered like a game. And so that distinction between the two, like people got pissed at me. Like when I was like a sophomore in college, like people were like, oh, that's. Like they cheated, like they won, but they cheated. Like I had a lot of that when I was like a sophomore. At the end of the day, it was like F you, I won. But like the difference between like the game and the sport really came into play. So maybe in this like weird therapy session, we're learning why I don't like pickleball.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
Yeah,
A lot
that's
of
your response. So anyway, maybe they're all right. Maybe it's just me, but I still don't like them. So, my friend, is there anything else you that's on your mind that you would like to discuss? I mean, it's been a while, but by and large, how are you doing? We've known each other a long time.
Pretty good. Like I said, I had a little bit of the health woes. I had to have shoulder surgery after the crash.
Mm-hmm.
That knocked me out of commission for a little bit. I've never had a major surgery like that, so that was exciting.
Yeah, I didn't even know. So I'm
Yeah.
happy you're okay. And no plans to move or anything, right? You're not gonna do something silly like I did?
No, we're happy with it right now. Maybe acquire a vacation property of some sort.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah, I was
where?
thinking, you'd probably either Colorado or Northeast ski hot slash mountain biking hotspot. Vermont, New Hampshire, somewhere around there, or Summit County, Central Colorado. Kind of investment slash vacation
Sure, sure. Yeah,
slash
that's good.
rental.
Yeah, we're
That would
we're
be
a ways away
fun.
from something like that, I think. Not that it won't happen at some point, but we're just not there yet. That's that would be fun though. I'd be happy to visit yours.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah. I mean, real estate's a good investment, and if you could have fun, while owning it, why not?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, the real estate market is really something lately. I am so happy that we got in before the rates went up.
When did you buy?
We closed in July of 2021.
Okay, so they were low then.
Yes, we got what will likely be the best interest rate you'll get for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
believe
can't,
it. If not longer, yeah. I mean, I was thrilled that I bought in, 2015, but looking at it now, I should have refinanced. I didn't, but I should have.
well, now you can't. Now you shouldn't
No,
anyway.
it does make sense now, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, it's rough how quickly that changed because I think most people who are like our age bracket kind of didn't know that something like that could happen. You know what I mean? Like our entire adult lives, like interest rates were quite low.
Yeah,
Like like interest rates were zero. Like when we were like in college. Like interest rates have been low for so long for them to now go back up. I think a lot of like average Joes had no idea that something like this could happen. Like there are people who were like right around like the 28
people
to
who didn't
35.
remember the '80s. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who aren't normally like attuned to what's going on, like the economy and things like that. When they saw that suddenly, like they can't get a house, Like I think that there's a very rude wake up call for a lot of people in that regard over time.
Mhm.
And it's not going to go away. That's the problem. Like, it's not like this, oh, that was a weird year, but it like swings back down. No, I think it's going to be like, that's it. Like, the party's over. I think like interest rates and whatnot will be higher just in general now.
Do you think that's going to hurt property values? It's
Yes,
going to be, you do, yeah.
100%. Um, it just, there's no way it can't, I mean, it'll eventually like find a new equilibrium. And by eventually, I mean, like, it's going to be very like choppy and like take time, but there's no way you can possibly expect like interest rate math is funny in that like small changes in the interest rate start to really impact your monthly payments very quickly. So like you're talking about like a like 1 or 2 percentage points can really impact your, and now you're like 4.5% higher than you could have been. Like the difference in affordability for all this stuff is mammoth. Like like I'm pretty shocked by it, and I'm very like well versed in it. So for your average person, just like I don't know, you're like whatever, you're like a registered nurse who just like does like a totally different type of line of work. Suddenly to find out, wait, like that's how much I can afford.
But I can't
Like
afford a house now.
nothing fits like that bill. I think there's a lot of people who suddenly thought that they could find something for the price they could afford, and like literally within 6 months, it suddenly became like so far out of reach because interest rates went up so fast after having been so low for so long. I think like a lot of people were really like shell shocked by it.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of people, I think there's an unusual lag in it because I think a lot of people there are many people who thought like, yeah, it went well, but it'll come right back. It'll come back down quick, and I don't think it will. So I think like there's this lot of like log jamming, which is starting to kick in, but it's taking like a while to really like get noticed. Um, we'll see, but yeah, it's tough. Um, that's a somber way to end things, but I think we've been going for a while.
The dream of
So
homeownership is dead. And have a good night.
yeah, I know. It's a tough way to end it, but I talked myself into a corner a bit. But that's okay. Well, Jared, I do want to thank you for being here and hanging out and talking for the night. So this is dropping on Expiration Friday, which is what? March 17th. Today should be March 17th when you see this, just so you know. And these are going to drop every Expiration Friday, and they will be getting cleaner and better and sharper over time, hopefully. But again, Jared, I appreciate you coming in. So thanks.
Of course, thanks for having me. Very fun.